Are a lot of issues coming out of Eskom over the last few days. There's the issue of load shedding, which is ongoing. There's the wage dispute. But let's focus on the latest piece of news coming from the power utility. The independent inquiry into allegations of racism by the Eskom CEO has found no evidence that André de Ruyter conducted himself in a racist manner. This after a senior employee wrote to board chair Malegapuru Makgoba and President Ramaphosa alleging de Ruyter's conduct was racist and that he favoured white appointees and treated white-owned companies differently to black-owned ones. Well, Eskom spokesperson Sikunati Manchancha joins us now to tell us a little bit more. Good evening, Sikunati. So just tell us a little bit about the scope of this investigation. It was headed up by Advocate Ishmael Semenya. What was he tasked with looking at?
Sally, good evening. Advocate Ishmael Semenya was asked by the Eskom board to look into the allegation of racism, abuse of power, and improper or disregarding proper procedures, and what could have been termed nepotism against André de Ruyter. These allegations were leveled by Mr. Chitangano, as you did say, in that letter to the President of the Republic, to the Minister of Public Enterprises, which then found its way to the board and again to Parliament. Advocate Semenya was asked to investigate whether there is any substance to any of these allegations and to make a recommendation about the way forward with his finding.
It's really interesting reading the Eskom media release that Advocate Semenya reports that Mr. Chitangano denied making these allegations, despite knowing these allegations of racism were wrong, egregious, false, baseless and lacking any substantiation. The CPO did not publicly deny them. Just talk to us about exactly what the advocate found there, because that sounds fairly duplicitous, but you're saying also there was a letter written to the President making these allegations. So I'm a little bit confused about the information that was and wasn't out there.
The Chief Procurement Officer, Mr. Chitangano, was interviewed by Advocate Semenya over 2 days, during which he denied making these allegations of racism, these allegations of abuse of power against André de Ruyter. And the advocate has therefore found that he could have also denied publicly making these allegations because they were attributed to him in various media articles, and the letter in question here found its way into the public domain. Of course, no one can say who leaked the letter to the media, but it quoted substantially and made these allegations attributing them to Mr. Chitangano, who did not deny them. And he now, in front of the advocate during this investigation, denied, let's say, under oath that he did make any of these allegations.
All right, so nothing came of the racism allegation. What about the allegations regarding governance? Mr. Chitangano alleging that the Group CE undermined the authority of the board and the Constitution, breached Eskom's delegation of authority. What were the findings there?
Advocate Semenya found absolutely nothing to substantiate any of these allegations. He actually described them in his finding as wild and highly irresponsible. And he said that is particularly because they lack any substantiation. And he therefore could not find anyone to have acted in the manner alleged inside Eskom, and was not able to make any recommendation. He specifically says there is no substantiation to the allegation that the recruitment processes were irregular. He says there is no substantiation to the allegation that poor governance on the part of the chief executive of Eskom or ignoring governance principles. He says there was no such things in his findings, and he therefore dismissed all of these allegations as made by Mr. Chitangano.
And also the procurement processes, the allegations there that there were unlawful practices going on. Again, Advocate Semenya finding absolutely no sign of that. So am I correct that this entire extensive investigation by Advocate Semenya was driven mostly by allegations made by one man?
This was particularly and specifically into an allegation that was made by Mr. Chitangano. It was not a wild booth against anyone who has any allegation to make. There's only one person that did make these on the record in the correspondence to the state president and to the Minister of Public Enterprises and indeed to a committee of parliament. So this investigation was based on those.
It's interesting, the Eskom release as well, saying the board notes with serious concern the emerging pattern that when Eskom employees are charged with poor performance or ill discipline, there's a tendency for them to go public with wild and baseless claims that bring Eskom and management into disrepute. And the board deeply regrets this waste of time, money and resources. I just want to ask you one last question. This is an independent report. Advocate Semenya was tasked with coming in and looking at it. But some people might say, yes, but Eskom did ask for the independent report. So how independent is independent? Where's the guarantee?
That would have, Cyril, to be a judgment on the integrity of the particular legal practitioner, in this case, Advocate Ishmael Semenya. The reality of the matter is the board is the only way it could deal with such an allegation. It could not be conducted by Eskom itself. Eskom does have very good processes, dispute resolution processes, but for this investigation to be credible and to be objective, it had to be pursued or conducted by an outside party. And Advocate Semenya was therefore chosen. This is the best method. And actually, it's what normally happens in South Africa when there is a dispute of this magnitude. The board has therefore adopted and accepted this report unanimously today.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time this evening. That was Sikunati Mchancha, who